Welcome to this explainer. Let's dive right into a wild paradox. Why is it that so many high earners, people with great salaries, impressive titles, and super successful careers often end up with absolutely zero savings? It's crazy, right? It goes against everything we assume about money. Today, we're exploring the true nature of financial intelligence. We're going to rely directly on our source material to figure out exactly how wealth just silently slips through people's fingers, and more importantly, how you can stop it from happening to you.
Today, we're unpacking the source material by covering 5 key areas. 1. True financial intelligence. 2. The lifestyle inflation trap. 3. The paper wealth illusion. 4. The cost of pride. And 5. Keeping your wealth. Let's get to it. Section 1. True financial intelligence. Let's just shatter a massive myth right off the bat. Financial intelligence, it's not some special mathematical skill. It isn't reserved for accountants or Wall Street traders, and it is definitely not just about how much money you pull in. The legendary investor Charlie Munger hit the nail on the head here. He points out that whether someone gets rich actually depends on their attitude toward life, their lifestyle, and their understanding of human nature. It's not about complex algorithms or spreadsheeting yourself to death. It's about your attitude and your grasp of human behavior. Basically, wealth is fundamentally behavioral. So, true financial intelligence is defined as a systematic ability to understand, earn, grow, and use wealth. But the really profound part is that it's fundamentally an extension of your life attitude. Think of it like a giant bucket. True financial intelligence is about spotting the tiny leaks in that bucket and actively choosing to plug them every single day. It's the difference between just holding on to cash for a little while and building a permanent, rock-solid foundation of security. Moving right along to Section 2. The lifestyle inflation trap. This first pitfall trips up high earners all the time. Overconsumption. And the sneakiest part about this trap isn't that people are deliberately throwing their money out the window. It's that they don't even realize they're over-consuming until the bank account is suddenly empty. The TV drama Mortal Life perfectly illustrates this trap. You've got this husband, Na Wei, right? He makes a fantastic 500,000 yuan a year. He and his wife own an 8 million yuan home in Beijing. On paper, they look like they're totally crushing it. But then you factor in the heavy mortgage, a full-time homemaker wife, a nanny, and the daily costs of raising kids, and their net savings are exactly zero. They are literally living paycheck to paycheck despite pulling in a massive top-tier income. It all boils down to this systematic cognitive bias called lifestyle inflation. Basically, as your income grows, your expenses automatically and silently expand right along with it. You get a raise, you buy a better car. You get a bonus, you book a fancier vacation. Your net worth growth always lags behind your income growth because you're constantly moving the finish line on your own lifestyle. It's like you're on a treadmill, and the faster you run, the faster the treadmill spins. Our sources give this mind-blowing real-world example to really drive the point home. There was this Hong Kong PhD who became a business director at a global company. She earned several times the local average salary for 20 years. Think about that, 2 entire decades of top-tier earning power. Yet, she still lived paycheck to paycheck with absolutely zero savings because her spending was completely unchecked. It proves a super harsh reality. A higher income absolutely does not mean more wealth if your consumption just rises right alongside it. So how do we fix it? Well, financially intelligent people use budgeting apps to relentlessly track their spending, and they follow this golden rule from Warren Buffett. Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving. You've got to set a fixed savings rate first, lock that money away securely, and then live your life on whatever is left over. That is how you fundamentally break the lifestyle inflation cycle. Section 3. The paper wealth illusion. If overspending is an obvious gaping leak in your financial bucket, this next one is way more hidden. But honestly, it's just as devastating. It's treating unrealized money as if it's already sitting safely in your checking account. The incredible danger here is treating unvested stock options or unrealized investment gains like they are secure cash, completely ignoring all the variables and risks. Going back to our Mortal Life example, the character Na Wei was promised tens of millions in unvested startup options. Feeling like he was totally financially free in his head, he went out and bought a 500,000 yuan BMW. But he didn't actually have the money yet. When his company suddenly downsized, he rejected a guaranteed 500,000 yuan severance because he was stubbornly holding out for his millions in options. The company ended up reneging, and he walked away with absolutely nothing. He spent real, hard-earned cash based on entirely imaginary wealth. We actually saw this exact tragedy play out on a massive scale back during the 2000 dot-com bubble. In 1999, ecstatic employees joined internet firms with stars in their eyes. By 2000, they were paper millionaires, obsessively checking their stock portfolios every 5 minutes. Then the bubble unexpectedly burst. All that paper wealth vanished literally overnight. But here's the real tragedy. The imaginary millions disappeared into thin air, but the real-world mortgages and car loans they took out based on that imaginary wealth, yeah, those remained. It left people completely destitute. Picture this stark contrast for a second. You have to choose between 500,000 yuan in cold, hard cash versus 10 million yuan in risky options that could very easily plummet to zero. This represents a core financial principle. Wealth depends entirely on realization, not just valuation. It absolutely doesn't matter what a spreadsheet or a stock ticker says you're worth if you can't actually spend it to feed your family. Seriously, if you need money for daily life right now, which do you choose? Our source material makes this abundantly clear. Financially intelligent people know a bird in the hand is always better. Unless you're already completely secure and can afford to take massive gambles, the guaranteed cash is always the smarter play. Uncertainty is the ultimate enemy of wealth until the cash is physically in your pocket. Section 4. The cost of pride. Okay, so we've talked about overspending and we've talked about counting unhatched chickens. Now let's talk about giving your own money away simply because you're too embarrassed to have a conversation about it. Charlie Munger strikes again with some fantastic, brutal honesty. Get rich, don't look rich. You know, pride is the ultimate enemy of wealth. When we let our pride dictate our actions, we get careless when we should be careful. We act falsely generous when we really shouldn't. This is especially true when we blur personal bonds with business transactions. We operate under this completely false belief that talking about money will somehow ruin a relationship. Let's look at Daniel Webster's rule. This famous American lawyer, the guy who won landmark cases like the Dartmouth College case, he had a really strict personal rule. He always confirmed his fees first before ever taking a case. He saw absolutely no shame in discussing money up front. Fair pay for professional work is entirely reasonable. Clarifying money up front isn't insulting at all. It's just a straightforward professional approach that actually prevents nasty disputes and saves your relationships in the long run. Now consider this super simple sales philosophy from the Mobike co-founder. Step 1, sell the product. Step 2, collect the money. I mean, it sounds completely obvious, right? But step 2 is ignored so often out of sheer awkwardness. People love making the sale, they love the handshake and the excitement, but they hate asking for the check. High financial intelligence means recognizing that prioritizing the collection part over the selling part is where the real value lies. If you don't actually collect the money, you haven't sold anything. You've just given away valuable inventory for free. Our sources highlight a really painful real-world lesson involving a mining bureau to show how this goes wrong. Decades ago, a firm shipped computer equipment on just an 80% deposit because they were eager to close the deal and didn't want to awkwardly demand the rest up front from this prestigious state-owned client. The result? They spent months anxiously stressing out, chasing a deeply in-debt bureau just to get their final payment. The golden rule derived from this whole ordeal is simple. Don't act without a solid guarantee. Always clarify money matters clearly, whether you're dealing with family, friends, or major business partners. Finally, Section 5. Keeping your wealth. As we wrap up this explainer, let's pull all these distinct concepts together so you can start actively applying them to your own life today. The big overarching theme here is that having low financial intelligence doesn't necessarily mean you can't earn money. You might be a fantastic earner with an incredible high-paying career, but it means you can't keep that money because of 3 deeply ingrained behavioral traps. Those are overconsumption through unchecked lifestyle inflation, chasing paper wealth while completely ignoring the actual risks, and suffering from an embarrassment about money, the literal cost of pride. Avoiding these 3 specific mistakes is the daily, active practice of building true financial intelligence. I want to leave you with a really provocative thought. Take a hard look at your recent finances. Which of these 3 habits do you actually handle well right now? And which one is that silent leak in your bucket that needs immediate improvement? Be honest with yourself. Reflect on where your hard-earned wealth might be slipping away and start plugging those leaks today. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.